Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dwayne here, and welcome to Revo Talk series, where we talk about property, market, and investment. Stay up to date with the latest news and insight about property in Malaysia. Today, we'll be talking about building and construction matters that is happening in Malaysia. And on the recent months, we have heard many interesting stories that is happening in social media regarding about the developers' quality of the finishing, and the period of property completion is taking longer and longer, which is one of the main concern for many property or home buyers, especially into the under construction sector. Today, we have invited architect Jerry, which is the founder of YHDA, to do a bit of sharing of his thoughts and some context about Malaysia construction landscape and what he sees about it in the future. So good afternoon, architect Jerry.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jerry Tan here. I'm an architect and founder of YHDA.
Yeah, so Jerry, maybe you can introduce a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure, no problem. Just a little bit about my background. Upon completing my study from University of New South Wales in Australia, I started my career working in Singapore for 10 years before I returned to Malaysia. So prior to setting up my own office, I actually been working in property developers for a couple of years. My last position being a general manager for planning and design. Actually, to fulfill my passion in architecture, I decided to set up my own office. YHDA believe in a holistic and sustainable design, and we are passionate implementing the design to ensure design and build qualities to bring upon the best artifact possible. On this basis, we also indulge ourselves in design and build for individual houses and office interiors.
Wow. So maybe you could, for the context of property buyers, what is design and build?
Sure. Basically, design and build is just like, as you see the names design and build, we have two areas. One part is on design, the other part is on the building. Usually, we have design by designers, architects, and thereafter we have the drawings ready to be tendered and built by the contractors. So for design and build, actually what we take care of is like we do works from A to Z. So we do the design for our clients, we do the implementation for the client as well. So so that we cut short a lot of in-betweens parties. So our idea is try to have the best result for the design, so that the outcome would be best matched to our design. So that's the purpose of design and build. At the same time, most probably also save some time in between. So this is what we are doing.
All right. So what are the past and the current projects that you have been working on?
During my past working experience as a lead design architect, I worked on quite a number of high-rise residential and mixed development, both in Singapore and Malaysia. While I was working in property development in Malaysia, I have exposed myself in landed housing development as well, including affordable homes. So with that, I also managed to engage in research study with Construction Research Institute of Malaysia, short form CREAM, focusing on industrialized building system on various housing typologies. From here, actually, I start to look upon architectural design on the aspect of sustainability, affordability, and also buildability. In fact, besides the aesthetic part, sustainability and buildability is the DNA for my architectural practice as well. So we very much focus and look upon on these two aspects.
So yeah, you do mention that you actually engage in research study in terms of the construction system and some of the new technologies approach, such as industrialized building system. I guess we will go into detail later on, maybe in that. But you also mentioned that that your DNA is sustainability, affordability, and buildability. So what maybe you can go a little bit deeper. What is buildability for you?
In short, buildability is like you have designed a house, for example. It's like how buildable is the house? In a way, how easy to build? Is there a methodology that is quick to build? Sustainable in building it. So that's why we have this so-called buildability terms, created in this building industry. So, for example, Singapore has done it quite a fair bit.
Yeah. So efficient building and also the time it takes to build a building matters as well in terms of coming to the planning to do the development. So we are going through this a very uncertain period of time, and now after MCO that's happening, and we'd like to know more about your thoughts, about what is your thought regarding about the market demand of the type of housing layout catered to more to high rise. What is your thought regarding about the type of layout before MCO and after MCO, and moving forward, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you and I know, I mean, life has been so much different, ever since the COVID-19 pandemic occurs. So I think same goes for design architecture to me as well. So realizing the fragility of life, it's left a lot of us to rethink the meaning of life, so it's, leads to the question of what we need exactly rather than what we want. So in a nutshell, a quick thought of trend, in design, is more like anticipated towards, simplicity, affordability, and compact design in general. I mean, of course, it's nothing new, but it's more like an affirmation. So instead of indulging in sophisticated and expensive design, so to speak, for the sake of looking good, but not reachable by the majority, I think probably it's time to call upon a new set of design and building principles to respond to our current economic situation, the hygienic expectation, the changing behavior, and also our changing lifestyles. Personally, I think that, for example, a 500 square feet open design layout, equipped with essential services such as a bathroom and a compact kitchenette, which can easily turn into a dual key or dual function units with a studio and an office, should be the next new kid on the block. In fact, YHDA is currently working on this kind of housing typology on our research.
I see. So you mentioned that I think right now one of the challenge in terms of house ownership is affordability. It's not that they don't want to buy, it's they cannot afford to buy. So I think if we really want to address down to the oversupply or the overhang issue, the developer or the development that should emphasize more on, like what you mentioned, is practicality is really important, and to make sure that it's keeping the prices affordable and also simple and also practical as well. So talking about high rises, well, we want to know also in terms of if let's say we always talk about the layout. So you mentioned about 500 square feet with open design layout with essential services such as bathrooms and kitchen. It's good enough. But what about the the outlook as well? Since when we stay in a condo, we don't only stay in the unit itself, but the overall atmosphere or the environment of the building is also really important. And you mentioned that sustainability and efficiency is really important. How can we do that? How can we achieve that? And in Malaysia, how are we doing so far?
I mean, if you are referring to sustainability and efficiency in general, I think you're right. In a way, what I want to emphasize is that if we use another word, it's like maintainability is also an important aspect on our design. So we have to understand the meaning of good design in today's context. Sometimes, to me, a successful design not only appeal to the eye but also function efficiently, with minimum maintenance concern, for the home buyer. So when it's hard to maintain, well, eventually it tends not to maintain. So before we draw a conclusion, sometimes on development, I always tell my team, try to look at the development not just upon its completion, but perhaps 5 years after the completion, so that whether it still looks as good, whether it still work as well. So in actual fact, the choice of design, layout, building materials, building management systems, they all play a part in concluding whether is it a good design. For example, efficient use of gross floor area to avoid redundant spaces. You promote the use of rainwater harvesting. promote the daylighting and also natural ventilation for common areas, optimal design on mechanical and electrical systems, etc. So in this sense, green building index, also called GBI, would be a good tool to measure the sustainability part for the development.
I think right now in the industry, there's very little emphasis on green building index. They always think that by investing in green building index, the property will be more expensive, or it's not something that I think a lot of people emphasize a lot. But hearing from you is that sustainability or maintainability is really important. I like what you said, that where you want to look how good is that condo, you don't just look at what they offer right now, but 5 years later, can you foresee that they can maintain the development in good condition? And some of the things that you pointed out is the management system, the building materials, and maybe you can talk a little bit more. What do you mean by management system?
For example, like how would I say? You say for car parking system, car parking areas, for example, the choice of lighting, whether do we maximize daylighting for the car park? Do we optimize natural ventilation for the car park, so that we rely less on M&E system? So in turns also, in a way, it reduces the maintenance costs for the entire development. So I mean, you have been to a lot of car parkings, because probably the management try to save on energy. We turn on certain lighting system in the car park, and it become very gloomy and dark. So so in the first place, probably we should do the design, capitalizing on this kind of aspects like daylighting, ventilation, so that without a needs to turn on lighting on 24/7 basis. So this is something that we can at least look upon in every development.
And just now you also mentioned that this is really interesting. Rainwater with gravity flow for general harvesting. What is that concept is about?
I mean, this is it's nothing new, because a lot of development nowadays, the government also impose on this rainwater harvesting system. But what I mean is that it should be really captured in our DNA for developments, even for example, even for bungalow development. So a lot of times, we really have to put it to our DNA as to when we design for it, we just not only design just because we have to design for it, but it design so that we design efficiently, so that this, for example, we capture rainwater from the roof area, then we filter it, then we recycle and reuse for irrigations, for landscaping, for flushing of toilets, But then it's best designed to be in a gravity flow. So in a way that we don't rely on another pump to pump it out for irrigation again. Then again, it's contracted as to like we're going to rely on electricity again to pump the water for irrigation, so that it should be everything based on natural resources. So we don't need to use a pump, we just gravity flow for irrigation. So this is the spirit of sustainability to me.
Yeah, I think right now a lot of projects in the market, when where we personally we have to admit ourselves as well, when we market it, we don't really sell the benefit of sustainability as a feature of a condo. It's always about you have that 50-meter swimming pool, that jacuzzi, then and there's that the steam sauna that you have, but not much of features that can help you to maintain the property in long-term wise, and also help to minimize the maintenance cost as well. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And we heard a lot about IBS, like just now you mentioned that you're in the research on doing this IBS system technology. So for the context of our audience here, as I know, IBS system, it helps to shorten the construction period, and also kind of save overhead costs as well. But maybe you can elaborate more. Does it really help reducing the property price if developers start implementing IBS system? Is it really good for developers to implement it? And how well are we adopting this technology in Malaysia?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because there's always a debate between IBS and cost versus cost. So I mean, the purpose of IBS, as you mentioned, so is to reduce the on-site activities with off-site fabrication under controlled environment. So by default, it should reduce construction costs provided that proper early design intervention is implemented. However, as you know, it also depends on quantities, locations, size, and scale of projects, as well as the repetitiveness of elements for the building. So for developer-wise, IBS is a way forward, as it reduces labor dependency, lesser construction time, as work can be done concurrent offsite, minimal material wastage, better quality and accuracy. Most probably, it's also less defects for our building. Defects is everyone concerns nowadays. So for the COVID-19 outbreak, which we are facing nowadays, industrialized building system, IBS, as well as prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction, PPVC, should be seriously promoted to improve productivity and hygienic control, with the bulk of installation work and manpower move offsite. What we are facing nowadays could be totally different on the next day. So I always think that housing design and construction have to adapt and respond quickly. Perhaps we can learn from our neighbor Singapore. The buildability score is mandatory for development since many years ago, and the score is gradually set higher over the years. Thus, everyone needs to elevate themselves to match the requirements. So once populated, the cost of IBS can be competitive enough to overwhelm the conventional method. So by then, IBS no longer a choice, but the only way ahead. The quick example is like, just look at petrol car versus electric car, at the moment. So it's the same. So in fact, if you notice, a lot of IBS factories are located in Johor. So in order to supply to a matured Singapore market. So in short, end of the day, it is the game of supply and demand. So when we have good enough supply, good enough demands, the supply will try to match the demands, and then the price will normalize to what we actually, to be competitive enough for our development.
So in order for, I guess right now, there's a lot to learn from Singapore. So you also emphasize again on the buildability and the ability to build faster. And I can see that IBS system it basically take off the on-site load, moving more of it to off-site. And I think that the policy makers plays a very important role to ensure that the developers are are encouraged to adopt this technology. I guess in that sense that Singapore, they have a grading system, and just thinking out loud is that if we also have some sort of grading system for developers, that would help us to adopt to this are forced to adopt to technologies to comply to the standards that we want to have. Right.
Yeah, so we are doing it. We are doing it nowadays.
Yeah. So yeah, it talked about buildability score, a grade that Singapore has improved year over year. So in a way they are growing. But how well are we in terms of in Malaysia? Do we have some sort of a buildability score or some sort of scoring system that the developer is using it, or the policy, the government are using it to oversee or regulate the developers?
Yeah, we are having a scoring system at the moment. The size of development. So, but I think it's still in the to me, it's still in the early stage compared to Singapore, which has very much advanced since probably like more than a decade ago. So I think we are picking up on this.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely, I think we can learn so much from our neighbor country, and I think this is very essential because property buyers, they would spend probably half of their savings ever to actually buy a property, and it's very concerning that, hoping they can only hope that the developer will build finishing quality. Even for us as well, sometimes when we promote a development, right, there's no 100% assurance that it's good quality. All we can assure is that, okay, their past projects are really good, but there's no way we can really foresee. So a grading system would be definitely very helpful for home buyers to make a very informed decision and to have the confidence for under construction developments. So so talking about the of course we were talking about buildability. So what do you foresee some of the design trends, since you are architect yourself? What do you foresee in terms of the design trends for the upcoming developments or projects in our nation and Malaysia?
Yeah, in terms of development control, I think for common facilities for housing development, such as glass entrance door to foyer, shall be equipped with automated swing in out device to avoid or minimize human contact without touching on the door handle. Then voice control over lift operation system, infrared movement sensor switches rather than conventional touch button should be also promoted more than ever. In short, I think for contactless design and automation would be the future trend. I mean, current trend even on building management system. It's also a very important aspect during housing planning and implementation. In terms of the micro scale of the design aspect, I also thinking that a study corner, a home office corner is no longer an ideal, but essential spaces for any housing unit. Whether it's for children to attend online learning, the parents to conduct Zoom meeting like us, or even individuals online entrepreneurs selling products on Facebook Live. So it should be either an isolated corner or a flexible space away from noise and visual disturbance. So one more thing is that when we are not allowed to freely mingle around at outdoor spaces, how to make our compact home more outdoor could be the next urgent questions. For high-rise living, for example, I find that it's rather pathetic to stay in a home, without any access to outdoor spaces within the unit for a long period of time. So on a high-rise living context nowadays, either someone own a small unit surrounded by casement windows or a luxury large unit with dedicated balconies, but end up costlier due to the built-up area increment. So for small unit in particulars, perhaps it's time to provide a semi-outdoor spaces without any area increment by dissolving the notion between inside and outside for living and dining spaces with the introduction of, let's say, slide and fold doors as a mediator to weather. Imagine your living dining spaces is covered but open-sided. You can open up the slide and fold door fully to welcome daylight and fresh air without a thought to having to turn on the air conditioning. So in turns, living dining become like an active zone for exercising and various activities possible within that confined space. Besides a view out for visual comfort, also no longer a choice, but also a need. In the past, a decent unit entrance always come with a proper recess space for built-in shoe rack or storage cabinet. Perhaps now we should also start thinking about a dedicated compartment or space for parcel and food delivery as well. Such compartment can be holistically designed and completed with a compartment door, which can be digitally locked. For instance, delivery personnel can inform the homeowner that he's sending in a parcel, and the homeowner can use his mobile apps to unlock the compartment and allow the delivery to take place. So the delivery personnel is only required to close the compartment once the items are delivered. Sanitizing can take place, and then owner can retrieve the parcel from the other end safely. So this is another thing that I'm thinking about. So in terms of sustainability, maybe it's also worth looking at hydroponic or aquaponic, even for high-rise living. From the semi-outdoor space, as we mentioned, we can always allocate and identify a vertical wall for hydroponic planting for homegrown edible vegetable. So in view of the current COVID-19 crisis, what is more healthier and safer than growing, cooking, and eating your own grown vegetables? So hence, I think it's worth taking for any housing design to consider such a built-in provision, especially when it's not really space compromising or even apparent cost escalating by doing so. I think the requirement is quite straightforward. It's about early design incorporation, waterproofing, and water discharge. So I personally, I think it's probably very welcome by the property purchaser, and also could be a very good selling point for developer as well.
Wow, I got so much ideas from you. You know, if I would ever want to do a development, you know, I can see definitely hydroponic. It's one of a really interesting concept that to have in the development. And you're talking about vertical planting as well, right? So
Yep.
and yeah, I guess it's really true that right now with you know, people are more health conscious. They do not want to have any contact with anyone. Try minimize that, and you know, having that and also to eat organic food as well. And definitely to have this is really good. And I like the idea that you have shared as well, to have a area for food delivery or parcel delivery. And over the past 2 MCOs that happened, I think many condos were forced to allocate a certain room to actually do the delivery, but everyone is going in and out to that area, in that confined area as well. So I'm not so sure, you know, how it actually solve the address the issue of trying to be contactless lah. So I think,
The
you know,
1 meter distance.
yeah, but everyone is going in. Everyone is going in and out to that room. The delivery
Yeah.
guy going in, and then the person picking up. So anyhow, everyone is still going into that room. So yeah, I think you know, contactless concept of a condo is really important, and for food delivery as well. And you also talk about, you know, in terms of in the layout itself, inside the space, to have more like a double feature thing, like, you know, you can turn a space for living area, and you can turn a space for a different purpose, right? For living and dining, 2 in 1, that kind of concept. In that way, I guess you don't need such a big space, but you can use a smaller space, but you have multi function for a place. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I hope the developers that are watching this will get some ideas. Hopefully, you know, maybe some of the ideas can be implemented in some of the upcoming developments.
Yeah. Maybe they can contact me as well.
Yes. So how do we contact you, Jerry? Maybe you can just introduce a little bit how we can reach out to you.
Yeah, you can always drop me an email, you know, yhda.jerry@gmail.com. Or
You have a social media?
yeah, you can contact us through FB. We have a FB page, as well as a website. Also can refer to our website, you know, www.yuhdesign.com.my.
Okay, so if you guys are interested, you can go check out his Jerry's Facebook, or if you have any questions, you can email to Jerry as well. So final question for you, Jerry, for because most of our audience here mostly are first home buyers, or you know, in the midst of buying a property. So a final question for you is that if any advice for property buyers, if now like they want to look out for a good development to invest in, what are the few things that we should really look out for?
This is a $1 million question, but well, I can only answer as an architect. So whether you are looking at own stay or pure investment, I think we need to choose a good development that encompasses the design and build quality, as we have discussed just now. I mean, I can't talk about location because it all depends on development. So for design and build qualities, you know, but some of these aspects are truly beyond our naked eyes looking merely from the brochures, as you know. So as we mentioned, GBI rating is one of the measures we can rely on. Perhaps the best bet is to look upon reputable developers which have delivered convincing track records of similar projects. You know, whether they are famous on doing landed development, or actually they engage in doing a lot of high-rise development. So probably for home buyers, we also have to do our own research and visit their last completed development. Will probably give you a little bit foresight of the next project's quality. So I think that would be my suggestion to the home buyers.
Thank you, Jerry, for your advice. And I think it's really true that, so in summary, let me just summarize up what I've learned today. I think right now, most development would move towards to more than, interior outlook, paying that premium for the interior outlook. People, more development is going to practicality, more simple, affordable, and compact design, something that you're looking at. And I think one that is buying property should also look at sustainability and maintainability rather than just the nice and look features of the lifestyle facilities. So you must see the development not just now, but 5 years later, 10 years later, can it maintain the outlook of the whole entire property? And we want to look into the management system, the building material that they use. And one thing I really got from you is that always look out for how well are they utilizing the natural lighting exposure and the natural and ventilation. That will indicate how well in terms of efficiency or sustainability of the building. And one more thing also I have learned from you today is to actually check out some of the developments that have grading scores. So if they will have GBI, then it will be great. I think there's one more, right? It's like the QLASIC.
Yes, there's also an IBS score.
It's also a scoring system, right?
Yeah.
So do check the developments, whether do they have any grading scores that will actually indicate they have some certain standards in terms of their development. And interesting features to look out for is like contactless automation in the building system. And of course, in terms of the outdoor space, you have food delivery and parcel. And also, I think something to look out for is, I would be so delightful if let's say the developer do offer this hydroponic feature in the condo, right? That I don't need to spend money to buy vegetable. I can just plug from there. Actually, they do now. They do now actually, but I'm not sure how well are they maintaining it. They always do sell that like that this herbs area.
I've done a bungalow, for homeowners at which he's favoring, he's fancy on hydroponic. So he cook his food, and then for us to eat. So it's actually, I think it's a pretty well features, for not only for landed. So I think even if you look at the market nowadays, I think a lot of people are actually selling certain hydroponic systems to homeowners. So I think it's the next trend to come.
Yep, definitely looking forward to it. So thank you, Jerry, for your time today. And I think we have got so much insight from you today. For those of you who are watching today, if you guys want to follow Architect Jerry, you can go out to his social media, YHDA, and you can check out some of his past work that he have done. I think you have done in terms of developments and also landed properties as well, right? Yeah. Right. So thank you so much, Jerry, for your time. And
thanks.
Thank you, and I see you guys.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you lost or confused on how much loan you can get from the bank? Check out our loan eligibility calculator on our website at revo.asia/calculator and find out how much loan you are eligible for in just 2 minutes.